Hey, this is Chad with Munday Scientific and Microscope Marketplace. Today we're talking about a Nikon SMZ1270. This is an awesome stereo microscope. We're going to show you a couple things about it, especially the base. This is a unique base. You don't see it very often. We've already got plugged in and on, but we're gonna talk about it. Michael's going to come in and we'll go over it. So first thing on this scope, there's a hidden wrench. A lot of people don't know. If you got a Nikon base, there's usually a hidden wrench here. So this can be a cream color. That's the cream color is the older style bases, but the newer ones are black typically. This is a 2mm Allen wrench, so if it's ever missing, you know it's 2mm, and we can go from there. So you have a tilting ergonomic head on this scope. These eyepieces move all the way around. So if you're really tall or have a long neck or whatever you got going on, you can make it as comfortable and ergonomic as possible. You have two eyepieces. These are both focusable. They're 10x eyepieces by 22mm field of view. They rotate like so. That 0 needs to be lined up with that white line right there on both eyepieces when you start, to make sure your eyes are in focus. And then you would adjust it from there to bring your eyes into a better focus if you have a correction in your eye or anything going on. So we're going to get these out of the way. We're going to use that hidden wrench that we were talking about. We're going to take this head off. Maybe one more turn. All right, so this head has a camera port on the back. You would put your camera on this port and you would be able to send light to the camera by pulling this rod. If you notice, that has a little diagram. All the way in, the light goes to the binocular head, and the photo port. Pulled out, all the light goes to the eyepieces. So sometimes you might have a hard time getting this camera or the camera to screw on this camera adapter. What we would do in that case is, when you're putting your camera on, use the same wrench. This right here, you can take this adapter out, screw your camera on, then set it back in that hole and lock it down. You have your stereo pod right here. You have a 1.5x front lens on there. You might go with a 1x. I believe this customer that's getting the scope is going with a 1x, but the 1.5 just for testing it out. You have a zoom here, 0.63x all the way to 8x, which is a really nice zoom range for a stereoscope. You hear that click stop going? If you don't want that click stop and you want more of a progressive zoom or a smooth zoom, you can rotate that right there. Here you don't hear that click stop anymore. Nice and smooth. I personally like the click stop, so we're gonna leave it on. But now you know how to change it if you want. I'm gonna put that back in. You have a coarse and fine focus on this scope. So coarse focus, fine focus for those nice details. To take this whole pod off, or whole focus mount off, you can rotate this black knob here on the back and move it off the post, put it back on the post, however you want to do that. The reason I'm showing you that is you may need to raise or lower your mount depending on what type of specimen you have on this microscope. So this one is going to be set about right there. I believe they're looking at embryos on this scope. That's why they wanted this base. So this base has contrast right here. It's like an oblique contrast. You notice when I move that lever, you can see, Michael, can you see that? Yep. That shutter going in and out, and what it'll do is it'll give more or less contrast on the specimen. A lot of people, they don't know what the heck this thing does. It doesn't look like it really does anything whenever you turn it. What it does is it works a mechanism in this stand that's like an additional super fine focus. You know, we're talking about the fine focus here, but when you have the microscope dialed in and you don't want to reach back, just put your hand there and that'll move the pod slightly up and down and you'll get an extra fine focus. Your rheostat, which controls the light, is right here. On and off switch here, where you plug the power in here. It also has a remote control for other applications. This one does not use it, but if you ever needed that, you put the control base in there for power supply, and you would need that control in the on position. That's what that is. So we're gonna put this thing back together. Really nice and simple. That goes in. I always leave 2 hands on the head whenever you're putting it on, especially on like a scope like this. The head's a little bit heavier than your average scope. You can give it a little wiggle to make sure it's nice and tight before you take your hand off of it. You do not want to drop this head. Super expensive, super rare, and also super hard to fix if it's broken. So that's it. So that's the Nikon SMZ1270 for this particular configuration going to an embryologist. If you got any questions about this scope, any other stereo scope that you find on Microscope Marketplace, you can give us a call at 919-775-5596. You can also email us at info@mundaymicroscope.com. And if this video brought you value, please like and subscribe. Thanks.